Where the fuck is McClay?
Which camera?
Oh, this camera right here.
Oh, the Bogcast, episode 45, Meister, take 2.
Sweet. And you can just set it to the side there. Thank you, sir.
Right there.
Yeah,
There you go.
Awesome. Thank
All
you.
right.
And action.
Awesome. This is the Bogcast, episode 45, right?
Right.
We are brought
45.
to you by Bang Salon. Come get all your hair needs, including cuts, natural colors, vivid colors, extensions, shampoo and styling, all under one roof. Find and message Bang Salon on Instagram at Bang Salon, at BANGDSALON. Use promo code
Bogcast.
for 20% off your first visit. So come on down and get banged by Jordan. But if you really try to bang her, I'll fucking kill you. Cool.
Also, check us out on Spotify, Google Play, Google Music, iTunes, all your podcatchers, and like and subscribe. Do us a favor.
Hell yeah.
Hope you enjoy the show. So we got a great show for you guys today. An old school homie from way back in the day.
Way back.
I think it's been a while since we've actually seen each other.
It has been.
Yeah, it's been many years. Bud, thank you for coming on, brother.
You're very welcome. Thanks
Yeah,
for having
man.
me, guys.
Thanks for
So-
taking the time to come down and talk to us,
Yeah.
man. We really appreciate it.
No
a
problem.
lot.
Yeah. So how you been, man? It's been a while.
It has been a while. I don't even know how long it's been since I've
Oh,
seen
dude,
you.
it's got to be at least. I want to say it might be close to like 10 years.
Yeah,
bro.
probably.
10 years. 10
Yeah,
years.
crazy.
For all the people that follow along, back in the day, Bud was a friend that we would call whenever. First of all, I mean, he would hang out whenever he was around. He was so fucking busy, but Bud was our guy, our go-to guy. We would call whenever we needed a house party, a band. You know what I mean? Slowpoke would show up and play in the front room, and it was like some of the craziest, most fun times of my life, but especially back then. I mean,
Yeah.
things were crazy, and it was pretty nuts. That was like the first house I think we moved into out of high school type thing, and
Yep.
it was just crazy. And it was a good time though, man. It was a lot of fun.
A lot of
It was,
fun.
Sowing our wild oats.
Yeah. Yes, that would be one way to put it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I never met you back then, but I was at those parties watching you jam out and shit.
Got
I
it.
remember you guys being badass. Those were some of the craziest fucking parties, dude, that were just
Yeah.
insane.
absolutely crazy.
I don't know how we got, or you guys got away with half that shit.
Seriously.
There was one time I can't remember if you guys were there, if you both were there, but there was one time where I think a helicopter almost landed in the cul-de-sac.
What?
Yeah, there were so many people, and we probably owe you a ton of money because we made so much money off this guy. It was like we would charge I would charge $5 at the gate, and then like tell everybody I was charging $3. I was scandalous back then.
That's
You know what I mean?
But the thing was, like, nobody else said they was charging. It was just you.
It was just me. Like
Yeah.
I thought this was free. No.
No. We hit capacity.
Yeah. So
That's funny.
Yeah, but it was good times, and man, you're a busy person nowadays.
Yeah, I'm even busier now than I was back then.
Well, let me ask: are you still playing? Are you still just on your own, or are you doing anything?
No, so I don't play in a band anymore. The Slowpoke had done their reunions every year, but
Yeah.
that fizzled out, and we can get into that at some point. But no, I mentally play every day, and it's been really interesting, as life happens, and once I left the band and got into work and, now
Yeah.
opened a couple shops, don't have time for that. But my wife and I were talking about redoing one of the rooms in my house so I can have like a rolling electric kit and play and do that stuff. But it's been interesting how powerful the mind is.
Yes.
Because I would, really not have a place to practice a whole lot. But anytime I'm playing in my car or listening to music, like I'm always just playing at my desk or whatever.
Like air drumming or like
Even just mentally, like, what is this guy doing right now? And whenever I'd get with the band and we'd always like rehearse for our show every once a year, like I was better than I was before. So it's funny playing less. Now granted, I'm sure there's things that I could have improved on if I were playing a lot, but like it was like I was better every single time I sat back down, I was better than
You
I
just
was
were more
before.
in tune.
Yeah, so like it's really crazy.
That is crazy. That blows me away.
No,
I'm
well,
not a
you know
musician,
what?
so like
you know what's funny about that? Oompa said the same thing when after break and everything, he took a huge break, and he said stepping back and just listening to music, he actually felt more in tune with it, and he was able. I don't know, when he came back to drumming, it just opened up his eyes more, or his ears and things more to play better. So
yeah, and I'm sure there's technical things that I would have been better at, but just in general, like playing the songs that I knew, like I was a lot tighter with it, which is kind of a trip. So that always kind of weirded me out a little bit.
I think you hit
cool.
it right on the head, is how powerful the mind is. I mean, to be able to actually purposely kind of think about that and make that part of your routine, to kind of pay attention to that. That's pretty smart. I would never think to do that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, they always say like visualization of anything, you know what I mean? So that kind of stuff, it for my experience, it has been impactful and worked. Now, I would like to get back into at least being able to play an actual kit more consistently than I have been.
That's why those rolling kits are badass. I love those things.
They're awesome. Yeah. And they feel like,
the V-drum, the mesh heads.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Awesome. So, that's my next goal, because I still have my kit and stuff, but I just super loud.
Yes.
My dogs would freak out and they just don't have a place to play. But there's a lot of cool studios that I've seen that you can go, they have kits set up and just pay by the hour.
Oh yeah, there's one up the road. Yeah.
So I got to do that. And it was cool. One time my brother came into town, and him and his buddy, we were going to the Guns N' Roses show when they came.
Hell yeah.
And they were like, hey, dude, do you want to come play? So I sat with them, played to tunes, had the headphones of the songs because they were a little rusty. But it was cool getting to do that. And I was a lot tighter than I thought I was going to be.
Is he still
even
playing?
On time?
Is he still playing out?
My brother?
Yeah.
No, he's up in Colorado. He's on TV doing his weatherman thing.
Good for him, man.
Oh,
that's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but my the buddies that are in the band that I was in the band with, a couple of them still play out consistently. The bass player Andy is in New York. He's a professor at a university. So it's just crazy how life happens in the
That's
other.
exactly it, man. Life happens, dude.
The other two guys have kids, and
that's cool.
but Alex still plays. He actually plays drums in a band. So yeah,
that's cool.
It's
man.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the drums, man. I'm not a drummer, but when I go to live shows, I stare at the drummer. When I hear songs, I like to, I can play the drums, not very well.
Yeah.
But what kind of things when you are mentally listening to the drums, you're just listening like to the fills, like the kinds of things that are like the ride, the hi-hat, tone of the drums.
I like the sound of them is always a thing that like I hear like, okay, I like that Metallica whatever Saint Anger was on, that one that had that like
loud snare,
tinny gross sound, that I was just like, that's disgusting, I would never do that. I always like to hear the tone first, so I'm like, okay, I wonder how they recorded that. Was it in a big room with mics and all that? And then time, like I was really bad at playing to a metronome back in the day.
I think a lot of people are.
Yeah, most drummers are, and then you either learn or you don't.
Yeah, so I did not learn. So I'm always trying to hear like the times, and that new Tool album, dude. Oh my God, like
shit.
Any Tool album. Dude.
Yeah. So like trying to hear what they're doing from that standpoint, and then trying to see like, okay, what are they playing? And there's certain styles of music that definitely it's a lot easier to pick up on what they're doing, but just there's a lot of basic fills, like beats that you should learn as you're going through drumming. And then it's like, I'm trying to hear like, okay, this is that standard, and how did they add their little spin to it?
Is there anybody you're listening to right now that is just blowing you away that people might not know about or might not listen to, that's like on a big stage?
I
always, the reason I ask that is because I'm always trying to find music for me to listen to, because I feel like the music. And I know I sound old doing this because my parents sounded the same way. Like music to me nowadays, nothing resonates unless it's hip hop right now for me.
Okay.
I have a hard time finding new bands, and when I do, there's some new bands out there that have just blown me away that people have told me about. So that's why I always ask, I guess, is there anybody that you're listening to right now that is just blown you away?
I find the same challenge of like, there's so much, and how do you find that's what
we were just talking about on the last podcast is there's so much bullshit out there. It's hard to go through all the bullshit to find the good stuff, because everyone has a recording studio now,
right?
Everyone's making music nowadays, so it's harder. I think it's a different you say that with your parents, but it's a completely different era as far as finding music now. Everything's just at a click of a button.
I know, it's
There's not that
fast.
same experience of going out to the store and like we were talking about buying an album just because of the cover looked cool, things like that. It's a whole different world of getting into music.
Yeah, it sucks.
Well, even like when we were actively in a band, like the internet was just kind of starting.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And, like, we were on the tail end. Like we were kind of out of it when MySpace was a thing. So like that whole world of how to succeed, I think, is completely different because you now have one button click access to the entire world. Now the hard part, what I'm finding with that is there's no one really like curating stuff that's current and new. So like you're almost relying on the Spotify algorithm that plays a lot of the same garbage.
I hate it.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah, no shit.
locally I'm finding people because I work with, on First Fridays.
Yeah, the bands that play at Buds,
play it. So there's a lot of cool stuff that I hear, and the guys at Seafoam Sound are like, they're coordinating all of the music. So I get to hear a wide range of local talent that I'm like, okay, this is really cool. But what I find like when I'm listening to Spotify or watching stuff on YouTube, I don't even know if they're current or not, but it's a lot of like, punk stuff that they're similar to bands like the Flatliners, the one that I just kind of got into, but they've been around for a little while.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, the Menzingers, like I'm super into right now, but they've been a band for a long time. And then part of what I've been doing is going to like getting back into like listening to the Beatles, listening to all of the Led Zeppelin.
We came in today listening. He was blasting Otis Redding.
Yeah. So like that kind of stuff, it's cool to just go revisit because I didn't have access to, like, my parents might have had Led Zeppelin 3, but they didn't have every album.
Yes.
So it's cool to be able to go back and be like, okay, let me like listen to this group's whole entire catalog.
It's funny how that happens, and that's a good thing with Spotify.
And the other thing, when you do that, then you find songs that, like, say the Beatles are like, actually, I like this song now that you didn't like a long time ago.
Yeah,
you know what
for
I mean?
sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. That's with Spotify. That's one thing that's nice, or just about the internet in general, is you can easily go find those albums and grab them. But so that, I mean, it's good and bad. Now with a lot of these bands that are finally realizing, unfortunately, they have to be on Spotify. I mean, it took forever for Tool to be on Spotify, the Beatles to be on Spotify. So it's funny also how I think a lot of times that happens as we get older, we go back to older music.
Yeah.
Does that sound weird?
No, I mean, but I think they got to figure out the whole pay situation with like a Spotify. Like I was listening to something yesterday, and they're
the
paying
Black
like
Keys on Rogan.
Yeah, less than a penny.
Yes.
Like a third of a cent to
They
play.
get fucked.
Yeah,
and what
it's
happens
crazy.
is all the money is going to the labels, and then there's like these crazy stocks the labels get that the bands don't either. So the bands get completely fucked out of the streaming thing now. Yeah. I highly suggest watching the Black Keys on Rogan recently. I'm not a Black Keys fan at all, but they really break down the business of how it works on Spotify, how having a label fucks you. They were saying how a winning Grammys fuck them because it opened up to this whole audience who's just about listening to one clicks, and you know what I mean, instead of like their real audience who invest their real time, you know what I mean, into them and stuff. And it's a really good listen.
It was, yeah. He broke the business down.
Yeah,
like,
I love that
very
fucking
well.
episode.
Yeah, it was good. But I was thinking, like, even for, like, I don't even own a CD player.
Yeah.
So I couldn't play albums if I wanted to. Like, I had vinyl, but I got rid of it because, it's just bulky and takes up a lot of space. So it's like, shit, I wouldn't even know what to do. So I'm glad Tool is on Spotify. I'm glad a lot of those bands, but yeah, they got to figure out the pay thing. But I mean, from the music business side of it, that's what I mean. They're gonna fuck the artists, forever, which sucks.
And then having that shit is convenient as fuck.
Yeah.
The Spotify having all like I remember when I was a kid going to walk my dog, and I'd have a CD Walkman so I could pick one album, and you'd have to listen to the whole album. I'd pick like Stone Temple Pilots and just listen to the whole album. Now you have every single fucking song in the palm of your hands, and I still have a hard time trying to find a song.
Seriously,
like I get sick of everything. Like, what the fuck am I gonna listen to?
It's the same thing with like Netflix. Like I don't even know what to. There's so much shit to get.
I'll have like 10 things in my queue.
Yeah,
and like Netflix, you know what I mean. Never even watch. I'm like, what do I watch?
Well, remember the CD cases you used to have in your car? You know?
Oh
what I mean?
my god, dude!
So like,
yeah, they're like
I'm at least,
books.
Yeah, so I'm glad that we're not in that space anymore.
Yeah,
but.
I remember when I had a 12-disc CD changer in my car. I was like, I could have put 12 CDs in. I could pick from 12 different CDs.
Yeah, you just
like,
put it on shuffle.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I wish you did talk.
We're aging ourselves.
The Spotify algorithm for shuffle is garbage. Why haven't they fixed that yet? Do you know how they do that? It seems like they play this is what I feel. They play more of the songs that you play, and then it just becomes an endless cycle of the same old songs because you don't want to hear those songs anymore, but all Shuffle will play is the songs that you play the most. Do you guys feel that way?
I'm hearing the same stuff over and over and over again. Yeah.
Yes. It drives me fucking crazy.
Or at least have a button of like all new.
Yes.
Because they have like that weekly new thing, but
Yeah.
half of that stuff I'm like, how did this even make it on my,
Yes.
you know, I don't know.
It's weird.
You would think they could figure that out, or at least that might be where, and they were talking about it on the Black Keys thing with Joe Rogan, like someone who has some knowledge, you know, we should pick them, have them curate, like you need humans picking stuff.
Exactly.
You know,
instead of computer.
Yeah, it's getting scary, man. It's getting really scary. We talked a little bit about your shops. Talk about your shops, man. How did you get into this? I mean, how did this start? Let me know on the history of it.
Got it. So, well, I've worked at New Times for 15 years.
Wow, dude.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so
15 years?
15 years. I just had my 15-year anniversary.
Oh, that's cool.
Middle of August. So, I had a lot of clients that were smoke shops. And I worked with Paraphernalia Boutique for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And I connected really well personally with Greg, who was the manager over there. And him and I had been talking about downtown, you know, how it's growing, what it's lacking, what it's missing. He always wanted to have the lady who unfortunately, rest in peace, Barb, have her open up a shop downtown, and she wouldn't pull the trigger. And I was like, hey, what would it really take to do this, you know? Because I had some of my other clients, and I was just like, you know, I don't know how much of a business mind they have. So I was like, if they can do it, I think it's possible for me to do this. So we went out to lunch one day and talked through a bunch of like the real what would it take. And downtown made a lot of sense because, I mean, it was blowing up. It didn't have a smoke shop down there. And, you know, the guy that owned Revolver Records kept telling me, he's like, dude, First Fridays, he's like, I make my rent there that day. And I'm like, okay, well, if you can do that, and when do you have that many people walking around one day a month?
Yeah.
You know, so it kind of made the ease of like, okay, less stressful to kind of pull the trigger. And so I went with my wife one day. I was just like, I have a space in mind, but let's just go check it out. The space I had in mind didn't work out, but we just randomly went up First Street, and there was a for rent sign on this shitty looking old building. And so we parked at front, and I was like writing the number down, and the lady who owned it ended up walking out because someone, I guess, broke a window. And she's like, I live in Fountain Hills. I'm never here, but if you guys want to come check it out. It was like crazy, you know.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. So we walked in. It was a trip inside, but then out back, there was like this 6,000-foot dirt lot behind it. And I was like thinking, man, dude, we could throw shows, parties, events. There's a lot of stuff that could happen. So, and then the rent was cheap enough, and we worked a deal where we would pay more as time went on. And then we had the ability to kind of opt out, so we got a good lease. So we rolled the dice, and, you know.
You couldn't have found a better spot, man.
Yeah, well, and then so we were down on First Street for right next to the firehouse for 2 years. And then...
I was going to... Okay, so how'd you get into the spot you're in now?
Yeah, so the firehouse and us, we had a really good relationship, and everything was awesome. But then, you know, from my landlord was considering selling or trying to see what was what. And I was like, all right, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But she ended up using a company, and they put this enormous for sale sign out front. And they were asking way over market value, which good for her. Yeah. But I'm like, look, if someone's going to pay 3 times what this land is worth, you know, market value, they're probably not just driving around looking for signs. Like I would assume they had. So every single person that walked in was like, oh, you guys closing? Oh, you closing? Oh, you closing? I'm just like, well, no. And so we'd have to tell that story. So we ended up having an opportunity down on 5th. We looked at the, I don't know if you're familiar, but that graffiti house down on the corner was the first place that we looked at. And
next to old Jobot?
Yeah, so down on the corner of Garfield and 5th. So we were looking at that first, and it was big enough, but we were a little gun shy of taking on that rent because it was twice the size of what our current space was. And then the landlord was like, well, hey, I have the space next to Lawn Gnome. And we're like, okay, so we pulled that trigger. And now I wish in retrospect, because I need more space, we would have taken that other one. But I love it down there. We did a lot of work to that space, the patio, and all that stuff.
It's badass,
so,
bro.
Yeah.
I got my medical card probably, I don't know, 6 months ago, I'd say. And I had kind of taken a step back from, I was basically, taking a step back for everything for quite a while. And I was going through some crazy, head game shit, just basically I was starting to have panic attacks and my stress levels were just way too high. And I was like, it saved my brother's life. My brother had bone cancer, and it helped save his life. And so I was like, it saved my brother's life. Let me just, my best friend is all about it. Like, let me just see where it can go. So I went and got my medical card. So I started going, to the shops, and I went into the shop one day, and I didn't even know, that that it was yours at first. You know what I mean? Like, because I had been so far away. I lived so far out in the far West Valley. And
it's the baddest name ever, by the way.
Yeah, dude,
right. That's the fucking genius name, bro.
So
holy shit.
We were looking for a place.
Budsglassjoint.
Yeah, we were looking for some place to get some vape stuff, and he's like, why don't we just go to Buds? And I'm like, Buds? And he's like, yeah, dude, check it out. And it just kind of popped in my head. I'm like, no way. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And we went in there, and sure enough, and so I think I was talking to Caleb. Like, I called Caleb. I'm like, hey, is this Bud? And he's like, yeah, man. I'm like, no fucking way, dude.
Yeah.
And I just blew me away, man. So I can't say. And on top of it, I think that you have become such a big part of the downtown area and the time that you've been down there. And that's one of the things that this show is about is the people that are doing things in Phoenix and trying to be a part of a change and make it better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the downtown has really been doing well from what I've seen, because I haven't been down here a while lately.
Right.
What are your thoughts on how that downtown scene is?
Well, it's really interesting. So we opened in February one on Grand Avenue. So we have Buds on Grand now in the Bragg's Pie Factory building, that like cool building where like Barrio Grand Reserva is. So it's like where that old pie shop used to be. So I have, from 1st to 5th, and then all of the growth that's happened. Because when we opened up on First Street, Roosevelt Point was just opening up and was going under construction. They have since built 5 enormous apartment complexes. The Link is about to open. The Stewart opened up. So tons and tons and tons of residential. We've seen an exodus of smaller businesses. Bigger developers are coming in. The artists can't afford to live down there anymore.
Yep.
So there's this, growth, pain thing occurring. A lot of arts are going down to Grand, which is why we wanted to be down there. So it kind of depends on people's perspective, like I'm born and raised here.
Yep.
I have always wanted our downtown to thrive. So it's starting to get there, and there's always going to be challenges with development and growth. I would like the city, I think, to be a little more, from a tax benefit standpoint of what they're giving these developers and stuff, they got to hold a little bit of the feet to the fire and say, we need X amount of affordable rent. And then I think from a design standpoint, they should have a little bit more, especially if we're calling Roosevelt the Arts District.
Yes. Yeah.
Like half of those, they just look like shit.
Yes.
Like, it's like, I've been to a lot of places, and I've seen a lot of apartments or condos, and they don't all just look like a bunch of boxes there.
I completely agree with you.
It's like, so there's some of that stuff that I think it's like, but from
it's like too commercialized
and bland,
Yeah.
like
the best part of it is like the art.
Yeah.
On the walls and everything, and then you have these very commercialized, built like badass futuristic apartment. This just doesn't fit.
Yeah. Well, and that I get. I think.
I get it too. I used to live on 3rd Ave in Roosevelt. Like,
got it. Okay.
My place I used to be able to look at Lola's, and I used to just love it. I still love it down there, but I saw all those apartments being built.
Well, those. And I know some of them are like $1 million+ bucks, but across from the Phoenix Art Museum, there's those like brick brownstone looking things that look awesome.
Yeah.
And then if you keep driving up Central, it's like square box with some paint and maybe a little bit of a indentation or outdentation, and then like that's kind of it. It's just like these boxes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, well, I get we need places for people to live, but can we make them look cool? You know, like there's just a lot of the same. So whether it's the same developer or the same architect, but like that I think is just a kind of a
There's a
cop
lot
out
of
from
easy stuff you could do to make that to spruce that up.
Yeah. So like, so that I think is, for me personally, the biggest annoyance of the development is a lot of it just looks really bland.
Yeah.
But you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And then Grand is, you know, it's cool because I'm involved with the Roosevelt Row CDC. So I talked to a lot of the business owners down there, and then I'm also doing some stuff with Grand, and there's just very different mentalities. And Grand, they have like height restrictions. They really do not want, from a development standpoint, what Roosevelt has turned into from like, you know, so it's cool to see people who are like, look, we want development, but it's got to be within, you know, not to the detriment of what makes this unique. And the city, you know, they've had their RFP for the VFW that's down there on like 7th Ave and McDowell, or 7th Ave and Van Buren. So like the fear is they're just going to tear that down and build something. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's like been 100 years, you know? So
yeah, you have to keep the history there. You can't fuck with that.
Yeah.
stuff.
And that's like our MO, right? It's just tear down, build something new, because it's cheaper to do it. It's like, okay, well, where's the history? You know? And that's even happening right next to us on 5th. There's this big development happening, and it will be good for down there when it's open because it's better than emptiness.
Is it on what side? Where's that 5th and?
It's on the same side as me. So it's where, if you remember where Think was and 5th Avenue Paint Supply, or 5th Street Paint Supply. Yeah. So like the Think house burned down, and then they ended up tearing down where the 5th Street Paint Supply was. So it's like two of these old 1900s bungalows are gone. They ended up keeping one of them, but I know those guys got, you know, some money from the city for historical preservation. It's like, well,
I was going to ask about that. That's
not really preserving much there. You know,
I was going to ask about that. I was going to say, isn't there government funds or government groups or you know, political groups that will pay to keep those buildings? And why is there not more effort?
I thought they were doing that for 5th Avenue.
Well, they are and supposed to, but like, you know, then there's people doing stuff.
Oh yeah,
you know, that
I got you.
I don't know.
Of course,
that was really in the plans.
Yeah,
but
they're building the bridge to nowhere somewhere.
Yeah. So, you know, and then as we get older and learn more about how the world works, there's, you know, money talks and you know, bullshit walks.
It sucks.
When you say Grand, like, is it like 15th and Grand?
We're actually on 1301 Grand, so we're 13th and Grand. So we're just south
down the street of
that
like that Prince mural.
Down the street from that. Yeah. So like where Bikini is, we're just like a block or so down.
So the arts district that was kind of I'd say 7th Avenue to 7th Street is kind of moving towards that area, you're saying?
Yeah. So I mean, from a gallery standpoint, there actually are galleries on Grand.
And First Friday is down there too, right?
It is. It's not as, and that's a whole other thing. Like even if you read stuff going on in the social sphere in the news, like what First Friday down in Roosevelt is, you know, I mean, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of vendors, but if you're a true, pure, just like art lover, that is not going to be your vibe by any means. But there's also the balance of, look, you know, in order to get somebody to be an art lover at some point in their life, like they have to be exposed to things. So let's at least, you know, that's a tough one, but I'm for people being down and supporting, you know, local artisans and local music and food trucks and all of that stuff. And from a business owner standpoint, we need people down there, and anything we can do to get people down there I think is good. And I know Roosevelt Rose trying to do more like coordinating with the people who are going to vend to make sure that they're of a certain par and level, so it's not just like, you know, crappy trinkets that you see. But you know, that's a tough one too, because you need people to sell stuff for people to want to go down and engage. So
is that because you've been down here for a while now and been part of the scene for a while now, has the First Fridays, is it growing or is it getting smaller?
It's growing for sure.
They're insane.
Yeah, it's growing for sure.
So if it's growing, then that's all we need is just to get more people out there that kind of think on the same wavelengths, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that you guys are kind of doing. You guys hold a lot of events at the shops, right? I mean,
yeah. So we have our glass blowers every First Friday on both stores. We have music out front. I have a bunch of different, you know, artists, painters, Mary Jane Smokewear will come down, and then we'll have a lot of people in the cannabis space. So like the bud card, people selling CBD balms, and we had Women Grow Out a couple months ago. So just, people of like mind, and, got to try to make a little party festival vibe inside this other bigger thing.
Yes. Yeah, that's fucking cool.
I think I walked to Bud's Glass Joint every first Friday all of 2017 because I would because like I said, I lived on 3rd Ave in Roosevelt, and then on first Friday I would just walk into it to all the people doing everything. I would walk all the way down to Bud's Glass Joint and then just walk back.
Yeah. Well, it's cool of you to do that. A lot of the people that live down there are like, I don't want anything to do with.
No,
First
I just
Friday.
want. That was just kind of my experience. I would do it all by myself, and just experience everything all along the way. See what you guys were doing. Either a band was playing, or like you said, the glass. I don't know if you were doing the glass blowing. I don't know if I saw glass blowing there or not. Then, but I know you guys do it.
They might have been taking a break.
Yeah. No. But those first Fridays. But every month they would get more crazy and more crazy and more people.
Well, they're doing stuff on 6th Street, 5th Street, 4th. They're now curating over on like 2nd Street. And now that the Roosevelt Row CDC moved their office to where Revolver used to be, they're doing stuff there. And then also up on like Portland and 2nd. So with one of the big developers, True North, down there doing a lot of stuff, they're all trying to like continually pull people down. So it's, without a doubt, expanding more. Last month, the police kind of blocked off Roosevelt, so there wasn't car traffic.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's, it's growing.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. And even
they
when
probably
it's hot,
have to do that because there's so many people.
Yeah, from a safety standpoint, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Says an average of 25 to 30,000 people go down to First Fridays every month.
You know what? It's funny. I've seen just recently. It's probably been happening for a while, and I just haven't noticed it. But like other cities and other areas are trying to do like First Friday, like Thursday stuff or something like that. And I'm like, that's pretty cool that people are doing that off of that.
Ghost Life played the very first Friday.
I remember that, dude.
2008. Was it called Canvas? I think.
Yeah, it was on I just remember it was on a corner somewhere.
It's not there anymore, but there was like 8 people there, and that was the first Friday. There was nobody there, and it was actually pretty ghetto. Like 10 years ago, downtown Phoenix was ghetto.
Yeah,
it was because our band would play down there, and it was fucking crazy.
That's what blows me away is how different it is because I took such a long break from down here.
That's that was how it was for me, and then I moved down here in 2017, and I just couldn't believe just the artistic vibe that's down here. You get more artistic just by being other artists and stuff. Just walking around on I spent all of 2017 just living on Roosevelt Row, and it was one of the best times of my life.
Yeah, it's cool. It's interesting if you're comparing like not comparing, but first experiencing First Friday. If you go down to Grand versus Roosevelt, like it's so different.
I'm sure
it's very much a lot more mellow. Still a good amount of people, not anywhere near what's down on Roosevelt, but it's a lot more about the art. So you'll go in, there's a lot more galleries.
That's exactly what I was trying to like get at. Like that's perfect because that's exactly what I was getting at. Like, why don't we the people move? Like, if it's growing, let's just add an area that's expanded. Just go to one of those areas, and it sounds like it's already happening.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's going that way, and more. There's still a lot of, open buildings on Grand.
Yeah.
That are starting to get, some of them are redeveloped. I know there's a restaurant, tortilla
That's
place
what it should do. Like as it grows, it's helping to hopefully put, people in those shops.
Yeah.
And that's.
Let me ask you this really quick. If you are an artist, how do you go about getting a booth down or selling your art? Do you just, obviously show up, or is there someone you can contact?
Well, I know if you are looking to get into like have a booth officially through like the Roosevelt Row. If you go to their website, I think it's rooseveltrow.org. There's like you can contact them and they'll kind of walk you through that process. I see a lot of people that just will post up on the street.
Yeah, that's
like
cool.
Just musicians or someone who's selling their drawings or paintings. You always get the religious people yelling at you, which is always fun.
Hey, I think that's cool too. I love that shit, man.
So
I love fucking with those guys.
And some of the coolest stuff I've seen is just the rogue, dude setting up in a field and playing music. So
fucking every instrument.
Yeah, so it's there's the official, and then there's a lot of space and a lot of people, and I don't think the cops aren't gonna bust. I've never once asked anyone that I've seen for like a permit. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's dope. So one day I'm driving, and I can't remember where I saw it, but there was a big sign. I think it was on the freeway. It might have been on the freeway. And I see Hot Rock.
Oh yeah, the billboard.
Right?
Yeah.
Big fucking Hot Rock's face just plastered on this billboard. And it says, I think it was by you guys had
We have one on Grand that's like a static one that has him like pointing. And then I have another one on 7th Street. Usually it's just like head shop with an arrow and our logo, but I've put him on there for a few different things. Yeah, he's like our,
Yeah.
I love that guy.
He was our on episode 11, I think it was.
Yeah, hell yeah.
He's a character.
Dude,
man.
he's the best.
Yeah.
Nicest guy on earth, dude.
He is.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is. He's funny.
Yeah, I saw the billboard on Grand, not the one. You said there was one on the freeway, right?
Maybe I saw it on Graham. Maybe that's what it was. Like I said,
Yeah.
I don't remember where I saw it, but it was fucking. I was like, holy shit, that's badass.
Yeah, right?
That's cool, man.
I try to give him some love, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to talk to you about some of the products that you sell at Buds. Because I go there for Kratom.
Okay.
You guys still sell that, right?
We do, yeah.
That's like a big popular thing right now? Should I stock up on that? Should I be worried about that?
So, not that I know of now. I know for Arizona, Ducey signed something at the end of 2018 that was like, I'm not going to say forever legalizing it, but it was more positive for it than not. But then who knows with what the federal government's going to do. There's a lot of drama constantly going on. Like we get emails from like the American Kratom Association all the time. So, I wouldn't say you need to stock up yet, but our government is going to do what the government's going to do.
Yeah, it's doing some silly shit.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is? Just really quick to
Yeah,
the audience,
so
just in
it's
case they don't know.
a plant that grows, or is a leaf of a tree that grows in Southeast Asia is the main area for it, and it has a lot of natural opiate-like effects on the body. So they've been using it for hundreds of years for pain,
Millions of years,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Shit.
So and people who are trying to get off opiates are using that. If some people that have pain and don't want to get into that. I've had some challenges with it, but I also had challenges with opiates back in the day. So like for me, it's not a thing that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But for that versus, the alternative, it is absolutely 100% natural.
Chris,
it helped me get off opiates for sure. Cause I was, with all the pain that I was in and all the treatments, I definitely got involved with opiates, and I definitely used Kratom to get off the opiates.
Wean off.
To wean off, yeah. It just took that edge off, of the withdrawals and stuff.
Yeah.
But people are also using it as a pain reliever.
Yeah, I use it for my lower back.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's not an addictive pain reliever.
Yeah.
Which is pretty. That to me, that seems like it's great what it does for the opiate stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm always for anything that helps that. But you can
still overdose on it. It says here that there have been cases where Kratom can't kill you, so be careful out there.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I've seen. I can tell you. Some of those studies I've seen are
There's always 3 fucking guys that
Yeah.
die from everything. People die from drinking too much water, so of course.
or they might be on something else. But
exactly.
But
that,
I personally can tell you, I had a few with my history of just being a shithead and very to the 11 all the time. I did way too much, and I had a couple seizures from
from
but I was just
Kratom, or
very toxic. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I when I step back and say, okay, what was going on? It was absolutely just overuse and abuse of that.
Yeah.
But that's me. That's why I'm sober today, because I can't do something like a normal person. So
No, man.
it's definitely very. I'm a proponent for people, but if you have addiction challenges, it might not be. It's just something to be cognizant of, because it definitely hits the same receptor. At least it did for me. That I was just like, oh shit,
this is awesome.
Yeah. So
I only call it Kratom, by the way, because Hamilton Morse says it that. I know everyone else says Kratom.
yeah.
But
Who know? I don't know what it's really.
Yeah.
I think that the number one thing for anybody that is dealing with opiates or just drug use in general is education, and that starts with talking about it, and that's something that we also talk about a lot on the show. We're both ex-heroin addicts, and we spent many years, decade in the game, so we know what it's like, and I'll say that I'm down with anything that will help somebody get off of it. But the number one thing is education and being okay to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because when there's a stigma on it, then people don't talk about it. It's in the shadows, and then kids can't hear it. People can't hear it. People don't know what it's like or what goes on. So, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, another thing was everything going on with the vaping craziness.
Oh yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, think of it in terms of, I'm not a fan of the government telling us what we can and can't do.
Amen.
Which that bugs the shit out of me that, states are starting to say, look, anyone can get anything, right? I was listening, I think it might have been on the same podcast with the Black Keys where they were like, what's easier to get in California, pot or tobacco?
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's easier to get weed for sure.
Yeah.
So the kid thing, absolutely an issue and something that no one wants anyone who's, under the legal age to consume.
That shouldn't even be brought up. That's so dumb to think that somebody wouldn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, no matter who you are, whether you're a proponent for legalization or not, you don't want to see kids, anything happen to kids.
Yeah.
So that's so stupid to even have them bring that up.
And then, I think there's still more info that should be, research that needs to be done. I know some of the black market cannabis vape stuff that's been affecting people. It's been because they've been putting vitamin E or some shit.
They always
in there.
put something crazy
in
in
so
there.
I would say, hey, don't buy black market stuff if you're in a state that you don't have to. And then from a flavored e-cigarette or, salt nicks stuff, not for me, but I'm cool with people doing whatever they want to.
Yeah.
That's what I think this country is
No,
all
vaping's
about.
gay. Let's be honest. Let's be real here.
But I also there are people that are like,
gay.
I have a guy that I work with who's like, I haven't smoked a cigarette in X amount of time, and I have never once said this is better than that. Who knows?
Yeah.
But if he wants to stop smoking cigarettes that we have, are proven to be not good for you, and that's helping him do what he wants to do, at least it should be a choice that an adult can make.
Yeah.
I believe that. What do you think of it, McClay?
I'm right there with you. I think that as long as you're not hurting somebody else, you can do whatever the fuck you want. As long as you're not hurting somebody else, I don't care what you do. That's my thought process.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's silly how with, whatever schedules of drugs or things that our government's so weird, it's like, at least do research, and the fact that they're just starting to allow or really cannabis research and CBD research. It's like, dude, we're so far behind.
It's such an old way of thinking.
Yeah, it's
so far behind the times.
Dumb,
I know. Well, I always joke about it on the podcast. So I'm just waiting for that reefer madness generation just to die off.
Right.
And then because it's just ignorance. For example, if my aunt and uncle knew I was smoking weed, they'd think I was still doing heroin.
Right.
But it's just that ignorant way of thinking that just is holding it back.
But
But I really believe in our generation and younger are a lot more open minded and with all the information
100%.
available, and so hopefully the progress will speed it up. I never thought in my lifetime I would ever see marijuana where it's at, even today, especially cybacillin being legal in fucking Denver and shit like that.
It's legal in
Oregon,
prescriptions in all of Canada.
Oh yeah, prescriptions. Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Well, I never thought that I would be, smoking or giving my dad blunts to fucking so he could stay off of, medicine.
Remember when he was saying he didn't know where the weed was gonna go? Show him the Groot. Show him exactly where it goes. He shows up with this now.
Yeah, we got a little.
It's like fucking 12 blunts.
That's funny. That's funny. But think about back when we were in high school. Like, if you go, man, if I could just walk into a store,
dude, we would have been
like,
in heaven.
bro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know what I was thinking in high school? I want to go to fucking Amsterdam because I could go into a store,
right.
And that was I never thought I could just go to Denver or California or now here in Arizona. That's fucking insane.
Well,
we had a driver, or when we were smoking back then, it was like fucking heroin. Like, I remember just constantly being paranoid, scared, hiding it from everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't want to go home because you thought your parents would fucking find out.
Oh yeah.
Just being all paranoid and shit.
Now your parents.
I actually never gave a fuck.
Here's the thing about that though. Where
I reeked. I had zigzags in my pocket. My mom would do laundry. I'd be like, I don't know where those came from. Those aren't mine. I don't know. They'd constantly find bags of weed. McClay's. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, it's funny.
My mom found a Polaroid of me and McClay's first 2 ounces he ever bought. He deseeded for a camping trip. Remember, and you're all proud. And then my mom found the Polaroid. What the fuck is this? Do you remember that shit?
Yeah. And Todd got on the phone and acted like your dad, or acted like my dad. Yeah.
My mom was like, "This is bullshit." I was trying to go on a camping trip.
Love you taking Polaroids.
Yeah, right.
Well, he was so proud. We were probably fucking
15.
15 or 16, and it was his our first big 2 ounce purchase. But it was swag, so it was half of it was seeds. But we were so proud of it, and we took a Polaroid picture of it. And my fucking
dumb kids, just dumb kids.
Yeah.
But there is something I want to bring up right now that's kind of funny, and it goes along with my next thing I want to talk about is there's this crazy thing that's going on right now that I've started to notice lately is some of these old school glass products like bongs and stuff from these badass original glass artists are just out of this world collectible and worth a lot of money and sell in the secondary market. Even some of the just the mass produced stuff is worth money. And you remember Todd? Todd just moved back into town. Shout out Todd. And I told him, I go, dude, you got to let me. He's got old school Jerome Baker. I forget what this model is called, right? It's just one behind me right here. And I go, dude, he's had it cleaned because he just been traveling a lot and he didn't want. I'm like, dude, you got to let me fucking bring it on the show and talk about this because these things sell for thousands of dollars, dude.
Is it an original Jerome Baker?
Original Jerome Baker.
That's an original Jerome Baker?
Yeah, and it's got the little knobbies that are signed.
Okay.
That's why he won't let me hit it?
I'm looking at one right now that is just like that, signed. It's going for $1,350.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
That's crazy. Even, how that art form has progressed. So there's the old school dudes, and then there's just, how even from recording, right? Back in the day, how that progresses. The stuff they're doing from a sculpting standpoint. We're having our 7-year anniversary on October 18th on 5th, and Hendy's going to be blowing glass.
Yes,
and that dude is, fucking ridiculous.
We got to check that out, dude.
Ridiculous. So the stuff that, he had a show down on Grand. Buddhas, things that are just nuts. And from a price point standpoint, $1,300 ain't shit. There's stuff that's selling for, 5, 10, 20. There's that Vice show there was like $100,000 bong that somebody sold. It's just crazy. So they have really upped that art portion of the game, and it's funny. I talk to a lot of the younger artists, and I get it. As an artist, you're going to want to do things that push your skill set. I'm like, hey, well, that's awesome, and you should do that, but on average, I sell $15 and $25 pipes all day. Yeah. So don't forget how to make a pipe. Or if you want to fund this, you should make pipes. And so there's a couple guys that are kind of listening, I think, to me. And there's other dudes there's a guy down in Tucson, Lizard Sticks, that we get from. He just does wrap and rake, simple things, dude. And I just can't keep those things in stock, but that's his business. He just cranks those fuckers out. And that's what people, the average smoker is going to come in and spend that kind of money. And then we have collectors and people that really get into the art side of it. And it's an interesting balance. But I always tell the guys, don't forget, man, make pipes too. They don't all have to be
get your name
heady.
out there.
Yeah.
That's cool that there's guys that are doing that on a level to where they're still, done by themselves, I'm sure it gets to a point where you're having people make it for you, right?
Well, so all of our glass that we sell at both shops, we only buy from Arizona artists.
That's bad.
Yeah, Arizona exclusives.
Yeah, and I think Lizard Sticks has another guy that works with him. Homeblown has a few different, we buy a lot of their Roadrunners or Bowls and stuff, and he'll have people that will, he might have 8 or 10 glass blowers, so would be more production. Yeah. But most of them are just dudes or women that have, that's what they do. They just make their stuff, and They, it's not like I'm sitting there ordering, hey, I'll take pipe A6. It's like they make whatever they want and they come in and go, this is what I got.
Oh, that's cool.
What do you, how much of it do you want? So it's very much a lot of individuals. I mean, that's what we have at the store. So, because you can go, there's a lot of brands. I would never carry anything from China, that shit. And there's places that if that's what you want from an affordability standpoint, there's plenty of those around. But we, when we opened the shop from the get-go, it was, we want to support local artists in this art form. So we don't have everything. People are like, hey, do you guys have ash catchers? It's like, if I can find a fucking dude to make an ash catcher, then I'll have them. Or some bong variety. Like, we're limited. There's not a ton of people that are making just straight up bongs. So we have like 4 different artists that we get them from. But that's one of the limitations that we'll have. It's based on what people, what they're making.
I see that you have a lot of like glow in the dark stuff. I've never seen that before in any other shop. That's amazing that you have there's bubblers and pipes and bongs that glow in the dark.
Well, I would not say that's unique to us. But yeah, that's some of them we'll use. It's like a glow in the dark type of frit that they'll put in the piece. And yeah.
Do you guys carry old dab rigs and things? Are those popular?
Yeah, it's really been interesting, as we've gotten older and how, it all comes down to wax wasn't a thing when we
never.
were.
No.
Yeah,
never.
So with that comes the necessity for utensils to use it. So yeah, we sell a lot of dab rigs. It was like a lot of, when we first opened 7 years ago, dabbing just started. So remember that they used to have the titanium nails and shit like that.
Yep.
And it's progressed a lot. Now you don't need a nail and a dome. But they're getting smaller and smaller.
I have a little Dabo do or something. You just hit it.
Roadrunner.
Yeah, so Roadrunner. Yeah, so there's that whole side of it. But yeah, and then the electrical stuff is coming around.
Yes,
crazy. I just saw one at a party last week and saw one.
Yeah.
And it's pretty intense.
Yeah. So the Puffco Peak is like a electric dab rig, but it's got a glass and water. So that very quick. So you don't need a torch. You don't need. it takes it 15 seconds to heat up to 10.
Wow. That's gonna help so much because the whole torch thing is just
dangerous.
Dangerous for sure.
It's fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
There's so many burn holes just on this desk right there.
And it makes you feel like a crackhead.
Yeah.
Definitely. It definitely adds the crack factor to it. The whole dabbing.
There's a big stigma with those torches, man.
Yeah.
It is like crack though. When a little wax falls on the ground, you're like, oh my god, and you have to try to find it and shit. That's what a crackhead does. It's fucking, it's crazy.
That's funny.
Do you see is it equal in the amount of dab rigs to weed products, you think, or is it becoming more popular?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. What do you see, flower or the concentrates taking? Because I don't want to see flower fall away.
I know I'm a flower. I'll always be a flower guy no matter what. I love dabs, don't get me wrong, but I have these dab snob friends who are like, oh, I don't smoke flower anymore. And I'm like, what the fuck? And sometimes if you smoke wax for 2 weeks straight and then you go back to flower, it will get you fucking ripped in a completely different way.
Yeah. That's why
that's some of the best way to smoke sometimes even.
I have to say, to me, that coming back from a long time away, one of the best things that has blown me away is the different highs that you get from the different ways you take it. And strains. It's absolutely amazing.
When we were kids, we didn't know if we had sativa or indica. You just got whatever the fuck you wanted. So either you're in the couch or you're cleaning your house.
Yeah.
And you didn't know why. You're fucking. But now you go out of your way and people are like, I don't smoke sativa. Or I don't smoke indica. Or everyone's
Sativas for pussies.
Sativas for pussies.
Yes.
But everyone's particular to their strains these days, and Yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's like wine, you know. Or
yeah. It was green or brown. That was
exactly. Yeah.
Seeds or no seeds.
It's swag or dank.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, brickweed. It was the fucking worst, man.
Chronic.
You know what's funny too is I accidentally smoked a swag bowl with Oompa.
Does he? I never even knew you could get swag.
I didn't either. We
fun.
went outside of Joe's Grotto and he's like, "Let's smoke a bowl." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "This tastes weird." And he's like, "Yeah, it's swag." I'm like, "How do you get? Who sells swag?" And then but what was weird is it got me super ripped in a different way. It brought me
like a shitty way. It gave you a headache. It gave you a fucking headache. That's what it did.
It actually brought me back to 8th grade.
Yeah. Dude, I get that sometimes. When I smoke, I get, for like a second, every once in a while, that same exact taste when the very first time I smoked.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing, but it hits me like total memory, boom. Like every fourth time I smoke or something like that. It's crazy.
That's
dude.
a lot.
It's crazy.
That's a high ratio.
Well, it's nuts with now the CBD flower.
Yes.
So, like, you know, I don't often empathize with the cops, but, like, that's a tough.
Yes.
Like, if someone's just, I mean, we sell pre-rolls, we sell singles,
yeah.
we sell jars of flower of it.
Yes.
So, like, and it looks like weed, smells like weed.
Well, let's
but it's
talk
not.
about that, because that's something that I just now thinking of it, I want to ask is, where do you see Arizona going in the future? Do you think that we're gonna get a full legalization, and do you think that it's gonna be good for us? Because I know that there's some things, some silly shit that's going on with these guys that, you know, they're trying to pull a fast one, pull some wool over our eyes.
Well,
and
define good for us.
I mean, like, where it isn't the government has their hands in it and saying that only certain people can grow and only, or you can, you know what I mean? I want it to be legal to where I can, if I want to grow plants in my backyard, I can grow plants in my backyard.
Well, I've read so there's 2 initiatives that are trying to collect signatures right now to get on the ballot for 2020. One of them is funded by the Arizona Dispensary Association, which should make the ballot because they have the money to pay to collect signatures. And then there's another group who's just very grassroots that's trying to collect signatures. I hope they get enough so people can make a decision. But I know from the way that the government or Arizona has recently changed laws of like how to collect signatures. It's tough if you're not paying people. And I know they don't have just tons of funds, so it's all volunteers. So they may not get enough. I hope they do. But the ADA, I mean, they've addressed most of the concerns that some people have. No one's ever going to be 100% happy.
No.
But it's adult use. They're going to keep the medical program. You can grow at home. You can possess at home as much as you want. I know that they're going to have it where people can, you can try to appeal any sort of case that you have. They're not letting people out of jail, I don't think, which is unfortunate. And there's, you know, challenges with what one can possess. I think it's up to an ounce outside of your home that some people have challenges with. You know, I mean, it's, you know, nothing's perfect, but some of when I read it, it's like, okay, well, it may be better than what it is right now.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't smoke anymore, so it's
but
I think people should have the ability to go, you know, do it. I love that you could grow at home, you know, and I grow, actually I have a little garden. I grow some of my food, but I still go to the store and buy shit at the store.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's better than nothing. I'm going to vote for it, even though I don't smoke. Yeah. But you know, someone will always say, well, this isn't good. This isn't good. And, you know, I'm sure from a retail licensing standpoint, I do know it's funded by some pretty large companies, which that's a challenge and a concern. But you know, I don't know. I don't know the solution.
I feel like a lot of the times that there's some tendril in there that's gonna screw me. You know what I mean? Like like something where, okay, if this passes, it's gonna be in effect for 100 years. You know, something silly like I'm missing. You know what I mean? Like I'm always worried that I'm not seeing something. There's always that feeling in my head that somebody's trying to screw me, but you know what I mean?
You know, as I've read it, the biggest challenge I had, I mean, they're taking some of the tax money and putting it to community colleges. I would prefer that go to K through 12.
Yeah, it needs to go to public education. It needs to go to public education.
I've heard some reasons as to why, which I'm not going to speculate on, but like, that's a bummer. I mean, I think we're 48th in education.
Yeah,
and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you know, so let people do their thing and let's fund it, tax it, fund things that we need. If we're too, I mean, they always vote against, you know, the legislator always votes against funding schools. I mean, 48th is fucking terrible.
Yeah, that's
There's
ridiculous.
50 states. Like, that's
fucking
awful.
ridiculous.
Even if it were like 29, I'd be like, we could
40
probably do better than that.
We're actually ranked 49th now.
Oh my God.
Oh,
dude.
hey.
Fucking
Well,
wonderful.
yeah.
Fucking wonderful.
Well, let's strive for the 30s, I guess, if we're gonna make some.
Fucking
Is there the gun restrictions involved with those new bills at all, or
That's that I have not read. I don't know.
I know if you have your medical card, you can't.
I don't know
What's
about.
the-
I've
what is
heard
that,
different
law,
things. You know,
Jamie?
I need to be better and look into that. You know,
Yeah.
but I'm not a huge gun owner, so.
Yeah, I think you can't keep a concealed weapon if you have your card or something like that.
Yeah.
I heard that too.
I heard that's. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, because I have a friend who has a gun and he's afraid to get his card because of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. I've never looked into it either myself. I should. You're right.
Well, I've seen on, I think it's under the Safer Arizona Facebook page. They've been doing a lot with Tom Dean, who's like a cannabis attorney.
Yeah.
And they've been talking about that. I haven't had the chance to watch any of his commentary on the gun thing. It would be unfortunate if you can't possess a weapon because you smoke weed. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. That's
ridiculous.
insane.
You know?
That's some reefer madness shit.
Yeah.
It says you can own a gun in Arizona, but it's a federal crime. So therefore, if the feds come in and you have weed on you and a gun, you can be charged federally. But Arizona state law, it is not illegal.
Yeah, that's got to change.
So unless my friend's doing some fucking mafia style shit, I don't know what he's scared
Like
of.
Yeah.
kidnapping or,
You know what I mean? Like, why do you
Crossing
worry about the
state
feds and
lines.
shit?
Well, I think there's a lot of guys out there that are just too ridiculous on the guns sometimes. It's like, listen, I get it that there's nobody that I think that when you really truly think about it thinks that you shouldn't be able to own a gun, right? But you don't need fucking 500 of them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that should be illegal, but at some point, it's like some of those guys, they just want to fight everything about it, and at some point you have to compromise. So, yeah, I guess there's weird things with that. I think that should be legal to have a gun and have medicine no matter what.
See, I don't think anyone's gonna smoke weed and fucking because of the weed shoot up someplace. You know?
Fuck no. It's
Yeah, I don't think
cannabis is a value.
I don't think anyone's worried about
That's seriously
yeah.
like a reefer madness plot line.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Fake. There goes our fucking GoPro.
That's all good. We'll charge it for the next one.
Another thing I wanted to talk about is just about being a local business owner. Like, what are the benefits, the perils, and what you've seen and what's better? You know, tell us about that.
It's a lot of work. You know?
Of course.
And if it's a lot of work, I'll never forget the first year we opened. I worked my day job. I still have my day job. I worked my day job all day, and then 6 o'clock to when we closed. You know, every day I had one day off, one Sunday off every 2 weeks. So I think 25 days off in the first year. That was, you know, I mean, it was hard. It was a lot of work. I think it's very cool. I wish there were more tax benefits for small business, you know, and as I talk to and meet with a lot of people who have bigger pockets, you know, and as I'm seeing rents around me go up on Fifth for sure, it's like, okay, well, there's a point where, you know, I know this when we first opened, first day, I'm scared shitless. Like, how are we going to get a customer in here? And I'm a marketing guy. Like, I believe in it. I spend money in advertising, but like, you know, if someone's, you know, there's cost prohibitive rents, you know, for a space for certain types of businesses. And you see that. That's why a lot of the art, you know, whether it be galleries have had to move or close because you just can't afford what someone's asking for rent because how cool the area is or how many people are down there, or that developer's like, I need this much. And that's my biggest worry with the stuff that's being developed. It's like, okay, well, you know, if I'm doing some mental math on whether it be retail or restaurants that have shit margins anyway, like, you know, that's when you end up getting the only people who can afford that are huge corporations. So I hope we don't get to that point. You know, I remember back when Mill like was super cool. Yeah. Then I got, you know, it was all chains and shit down there. And then it, you know, the economy took a shit, but like we have to have some sort of, you know, I don't know how to do it. And I get business owners like I got to make my money and do their thing from like a developer standpoint, but like we have to have local independent businesses, and they're getting hammered with online too, you know? So I think from a community standpoint, like go support those shops, man. Like,
yeah, for sure.
You know, go fucking walk in and spend your money somewhere versus the ease of an Amazon or what have you.
But there's also ways to play both of the games because that's kind of what I do. Like, I make a lot of money in the comic book market. You know what I mean? Like I sell stuff on the secondary market. I'll buy collections, or I'll it's kind of like a speculation market with it. You know, like something's coming out and there's only so many of them. You can go buy some and then sell them on the secondary market. But at the same time, I also support my local shops. Like I'll go get a box at a local shop and get a monthly, pull list of 10 books, and because the shop is what feeds that secondary market, right? So there's a way to play both. It's unfortunately, I think the machine has gotten so big with the internet sales that the problem I'm seeing is that some of these brick and mortar shops are going to have to start playing the secondary or playing the internet games somehow.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks.
Yeah, because
Can I reiterate something on that law, guys? I'm sorry, I just did some more research. It says you cannot buy a gun if you, because you got to fill out a form and it says, do you smoke marijuana? And if you check yes, you can't buy one. But it doesn't say anything if you already own a gun and then have one for state law. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Sorry for interrupting.
That's good.
No, you're good.
Check that fucking box.
Yeah, I don't know why you would do that. Well, unless you're I'm trying to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, lie.
Yeah, that's the other thing,
So brick and mortar, Brian.
Yeah. So back to these brick and mortar stores are going to have to find a way to make some money in that ball game.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would. The doing it of that, because I even think about me, like, right, do I need e-com? I don't have a huge warehouse, but there are distributors that'll drop ship stuff. But it's like, okay, well, I can't compete SEO wise with Amazon or some of these guys who I would be buying it from. That's the thing that kills me. If I'm buying a vape from a distributor and they're selling it on their site for cheaper than I have to, it's like, what the fuck, But it's really interesting. I think you're cognizant of, I want to support local. A lot of people are just like, whatever's easiest for me. Yeah. I don't really care. And that's a slippery slope and a scary place that we may end up if it's like 5 fucking places that you can shop at, and all of the unique, small independent stuff is gone. I would hate to be there. What's
great about what also happens in the brick and mortar shops, or at least the ones that are doing it and doing it well, is they're creating a community, right?
Right.
So the most important thing that I've found in a lot of like the niche markets that I've that I'm part of is there's a community aspect, right? And that community aspect also has other people word of mouth within that community saying, oh no, you need to go check this out. And that community aspect is such a big important thing, and you guys are doing that with both shops. You guys do a lot of cool stuff.
Trying to. Well, come on the 18th and hang out and hang with the community. But the other side of it too, for the artists, they now have direct to market opportunities to sell, which I don't knock them doing it. I just would hope that from and look, everyone's got to make their money, and I respect it. But if someone knows, hey, this is what I would wholesale it for to sell at a shop, or I can make a little more money selling it direct, there's that whole reality that we may face too, where some of the artists can just go and sell without the need for a retailer, which, I mean, it is what it is, and there's nothing we can do. It's just pivot. But I'm old school. I don't buy a lot of shit online. Yeah. Like, I want to go touch it, feel it, go get it.
Yeah.
But
we were talking about that on the last podcast, just even with music, how awesome it was back in the day to get the CD booklet and open it up and read the thank you section or the lyrics, or, because it was a tangible thing that you could touch. It's kind of lost when you're just ordering shit online. Even going to a head shop when I was young, it was awesome. Just you know what I mean, as a young kid. And so I encourage everyone to go to budsglassjoint and just support all the local shops down there.
Totally.
Especially the art, that involved with the local art and things like that.
So. I agree.
Do you have anything you want to promote or talk about?
I think the biggest thing is our anniversary party. So third Friday, October 18th, it'll be from 7 to 10-ish, probably a little after. We'll have Hendy, who's one of the best dudes in the state and in the country from a artist standpoint, blowing glass. We'll have live music. I got Hot Rock Super Joint already confirmed. Got a few asks out there, but we'll have 4 or 5 artists performing. I'll have some food out there. And then we always do excuse me, 2 different raffles. So we always have a paid raffle. Tickets are $1, and we give away in the raffles probably $7,000 worth of stuff.
Nice.
And then we always do a free raffle. So anyone who's there at the end of the night, we give them a ticket. Everybody walks away with something. So we give away a ton of stuff, and then we'll have our sale all day. 25 to 70% off the store, depending on what it is. But yeah, that would be the thing. 7 years.
That's
it's crazy,
man.
It's crazy. So 5 years on Fifth, but 7 years as Buds, and it's been a wild ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We really appreciate you coming down and talking to us.
Yeah,
about
it's my
it.
pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
I mean, everyone I know knows about Bud's Glass Joint, but
Well, that's cool.
I hope this reaches an audience to encourage more people to come
I
up to
hope
your
so.
shop and things.
Budsglassjoint.com, budsongrand.com. Get it to either of the locations pages, and then on Instagram it's at budsglassjointaz.
You guys have a Facebook page too.
And
We have a
Facebook,
Facebook
yep.
page, yeah, Bud's Glass Joint. We have a Twitter that I never post on. And why it's Bud's Glass Joint AZ on Instagram. We got shut down back in the day, so we had to add the AZ to restart. But yeah, find us. Come
Sweet,
inside.
man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you want to do the shout outs real quick?
Yeah, big shout out again to Bird City Comics. For anybody out there that's looking to buy some comics on a live auction, check them out on Facebook at Bird City Comics. Check out the Tales from the Flipside show every Monday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and check out Absolute Geek every Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Arizona time.
And Brian just did I was going to say a podcast with
Mike. Yeah.
Did you just say that?
What?
Did you just say that?
No,
Oh.
no, I haven't said that yet. But definitely check that out. So
The AZ ADHD podcast.
yeah, AZ ADHD podcast. That was a fucking blast, dude. That was a good.
Yeah.
That was a fun show.
Yeah.
But when we go on there, we're gonna fucking ride his ass about fucking not learning how to spell. Holy shit, man! Learn how to spell, brother.
Right on.
Go check out Strong Heart Academy, man. Much love to Mike Martin, Strong Heart
It's spelled
Academy.
wrong, but no, just
Yeah.
kidding.
And Darren and Dan, we see you, brothers.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Really
thanks, guys.
appreciate it, bud. Thanks to Little Mac for doing the sound and checking out Facts, and thanks to Don Rose. That's a wrap on the episode 45 of the Bogcast.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Bang!